ようだ、ように、ような、のような、ようにする、ようとする、ようになる, etc., etc., etc. There are so many variations of yo that you must have come across while reading or studying for the JLPT, and it's so confusing because sometimes you're told that yo means seems like, but then you see yo to suru and it has nothing to do with seems like. And I completely understand your confusion. It is confusing, but in reality, it's actually quite simple. All these variations are just one of two things. There is the true yo, that's just what I call it, and there is the yo that's actually just the potential form in disguise. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, once this video is over, I'm sure it'll make a little bit more sense. There's also going to be more videos in which we practice all the variations of yo, so don't worry about anything. This will all become a little less confusing. Today we're starting with the most basic form of yo, which is yo da or yo desu, and this is one of the true forms of yo. Let's look at a situation. So this onna no hito is having a little bit of trouble because her cat is sleeping on her laptop. So let's try describing this. So we would say 猫がパソコンの上で寝ています. Okay? And then it seems like she's unable to work because of that, right? So 仕事ができません. Okay? And then we can connect the two. 猫がパソコンの上で寝ていて. Just use the te form. 仕事ができません. Okay, so that's a complete sentence. The cat is sleeping on the laptop and she is unable to do her work. But also, in this situation, we're talking from observation, right? We don't actually know if not being able to work is the concern here. Maybe she's just having trouble because her hands are stuck under the cat and she needs to go to the bathroom. So to specify that we're talking based on what we observed, we use yoda. And this is often translated as seems like, okay? So the new sentence would be the same thing. 猫がパソコンの上で寝ていて仕事ができないようだ。できないようだ。はい。Now, one thing I really want you to understand first is what exactly yo as a word means. So when we write yo in kanji, this is the kanji that we use. So you might have seen this. This is also the kanji for sama, like Tanaka-sama, but we're not getting to the why of that. But this kanji is used to mean the way something looks, like the appearance of something. Okay. That's why when we say 仕事ができないようだ, even though it's often translated as it seems like she's unable to work, the actual literal translation is the appearance is that she's unable to work. ちょっと変ですけど, it sounds a bit weird, but that's what it literally means. Also, a bit of a tangent here, but there is a word called 様子. And this 様子, as you can see, uses the same kanji as yo, and it's very close meaning-wise. What this means is a situation or state that you can observe visually, something that you can see. And I think it makes it easier to get the vibe of what yo means if you know this word as well. So for example, let's think of a situation. If someone's situation or behavior seems weird based on what you see, okay? Like for example, they're walking a bit weird or they seem kind of sad for no reason, then you would say, 様子がおかしい. 様子がおかしい. Or, sometimes you're trying to gauge the situation before you do something. You're trying to see if it's okay to take an action. In that case, it's often said, 様子を見る. 様子を見た方がいいですね. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of a vibe of what yo and yosu mean. In most yo phrases, like yona, yoni, yoda, etc., this is the yo, but we never write it in kanji. It's always in hiragana. Now let's try a few questions. Okay, 雨が降っている。女の人は something, something, something. So it's raining, we can see that. We can also see that this lady, she seems happy. So I want us to use the word yorokobu, which means to become happy, right? So how would you say it seems, or the appearance is that she's happy? 答えは、女の人は喜んでいるようだ. So we use the continuous form of yorokobu because currently she seems happy. And it's 喜んでいるようだ. はい、次です。 女の人が寝ている。女の人 is sleeping. いい夢を something something something. 夢は dream ですね。So it seems like she's having a nice dream. It appears to be that she's having a good dream. So again, we would use the continuous form of 見る and this would become いい夢を見ているようだ or 見ているようです。OK. Easy ですか? One thing that you should be really careful of while using Yoda with verbs is never use the must form, okay? You cannot say 見ていますようだ or 見ていましたようだ. It's always going to be the plain form. So 見ているようだ、見たようだ or 見るようだ depending on the context, okay? So that's how you do it for verbs. What if it's an adjective? はい。これは村ですね. It's a village. 家が一つしかない. There is only one house. この村は Okay, the word we're going to use is 静か, meaning quiet. And 静か is an adjective, right? It's a not adjective because there's no i at the end. So whenever you see a not adjective, you're going to have to put a not right before ようだ. だから、この村は静かなようだ. Okay ですか? Now, what if it's an i adjective? In that case, you really don't have to do anything special. You just use the adjective and attach ようだ. No addition or subtraction. Okay. この女の人. She seems to be cold. 寒いですね. 女の人は寒いようだ. Now we're going to look at nouns. Nouns are a little bit different. It's basically the same thing, but it's just that when you use a noun with ようだ, it becomes kind of like what you call a simile in English. And with nouns, there's always going to be a no, the no particle. Okay, so これは家ですね. It's a house. この家は it looks like a castle. It looks like a palace. So that is お城. What we're going to do is we're going to put a no after お城 and add ようだ. この家はお城のようだ. So what that means is this house seems like a castle, or the appearance of this house is that of a castle. So meaning-wise, it's the same. It's just you're comparing a noun with a noun. Okay, next. はい。彼は、カラオケを歌っていますね. He's singing karaoke and he seems to be very passionate. He seems to be having a lot of fun. He looks like an actual singer. I'm going to give you 3 seconds to think of how you would use ようだ with 歌手, which means singer. 彼ははい、答えは歌手のようだ. OK ですか? So here's a summary of all the rules. If it's a verb, it's going to be just the verb plus ようだ or ようです. Just remember, never use the must form. If it's an e adjective, very straightforward, just the e adjective plus ようだ. If it's a not adjective, just put a na plus ようだ. And if it's a noun, don't forget the no. Okay, now let's try a few more questions. That's all for the rules, so I want to test how much you understand. 頑張ってください. 3 questions, okay? はい。田中さんは泣きながら帰った。Okay, これ田中さん he's crying. 泣いていますね。ながら is what you use when you're doing A while doing B. So he's going home while crying. はい。So what happened to him? 疲れたのようだった。疲れたようだった。疲れましたようだった。5 seconds. 考えてください。はい。答えは疲れたようだった。It seemed like, or it appeared as if he was tired. You can't use 疲れたのようだった because 疲れた is not a noun, so you don't need no. And you can't use ました because must form never goes with verbs. はい、次です。誰もいないね。今日はこの店、休みのようだ。休みようだ。休みなようだ。はい、誰もいないね。There is no one. 今日はこの店、どれですか？はい、答えは休みのようだ。Because 休み is a noun, so you need a no. はい、最後です。お父さんはもう 元気なようだ、元気のようだ、元気だようだ。はい、お父さんは病院にいます。入院しています。He seems to have been hospitalized. But 元気ですね。はい、答えはどれですか？はい、答えは元気なようだ。Because 元気 is a not adjective.